After awakening his ability, the first thing the man did was make the beautiful examiner blush bright red, because the power he awakened was an E+ class visual enhancement. With a single glance, he could see through everything in the world. In the year 2026, without warning, Blue Star gave birth to its first life forbidden zone, the White Mist Forbidden Zone. From that day on, the White Mist went insane, devouring every living thing within hundreds of miles. Out of millions of people, fewer than 1,000 made it out alive. Even worse, the White Mist didn't stop expanding. Every year, a new zone appeared, spreading endlessly across Blue Star. No one knew where these zones came from. The only certain thing was this: if you wanted to survive inside the mist, you had to obey the mysterious Forbidden Zone rules. Thankfully, along with the mist came the awakening of Blue Star's creatures. Humans who awakened were called ability users, while animals mutated into monsters. Yishichi still remembered that day 7 years ago when the White Mist descended. Everyone was running for the safe zone. Just as he reached the edge, an invisible barrier slammed him back. His sister looked back, saw him trapped, and turned around without hesitation. Grandpa Mu also refused to leave. From that day on, the three of them lived on the edge of the White Mist Forbidden Zone, barely surviving by hunting weak monsters. That day, Yishichi slipped out behind his sister's back, heading toward the border to search for food. Through her binoculars, his sister saw 3 figures flickering inside the mist. 3 ability users hunting a bull-type monster. The creature's roar made the ground tremble. A masked man sliced open its belly with twin blades. Another man's fur exploded across his body as he turned into a werewolf. That one was a transformation-type ability user. The last one swung his arms and buried an axe deep into the creature's skull. The beast crashed to the ground with a thunderous boom. The 3 didn't linger. They turned and vanished into the depths of the White Mist Forbidden Zone as Ishichi's sister watched in awe, eager to share what she had seen. Suddenly, his legs gave out. He collapsed straight to the ground. His sister pointed to the monster's corpse not far away and said, "Looks like we're having meat today." Soon, they dragged the monster's body back to their temporary shelter at the edge of the zone. At the table, Yishichi gnawed on a bull bone, while his sister dropped a large chunk of meat into his bowl. "So much meat, and you're still chewing bones? Eat it now," and not a single bite left. He tried to explain that he wanted to save some, but her tone left no room for refusal. He gave in and began shoving the meat into his mouth. After just 2 bites, his pupils suddenly shrank. In the next instant, the light before his eyes was swallowed by darkness. The familiar feeling of weightlessness returned. His heart skipped a beat. Was his intermittent blindness acting up again? It reminded him of that day 7 years ago, the invisible wall that surrounded the White Mist Forbidden Zone, sealing a frozen loop 17 kilometers wide. He was like a forgotten prisoner, trapped between the Forbidden Zone and the safe zone. Over the years, his blindness had gone from occasional to unpredictable, striking without warning. Every time darkness consumed him, he feared he might never open his eyes again. The thought weighed on him. Grandpa Mu's health was getting worse, and only the human safe zone had medicine that could help. His sister Han could have joined an ability user team, had a better future. They shouldn't have been stuck here because of him. That night, Yishichi quietly entered his sister's room. He told her, "Tomorrow, take Grandpa Mu to the human safe zone." She froze, then shook her head. "We promised to break through that wall together. I'm your sister. I won't leave you behind." Fighting to hold back his emotions, Yishichi told her everything weighing on his mind. Grandpa Mu couldn't wait any longer. In this zone 22, it was built to trap him from the start. His sister suddenly pulled him into a tight hug. She didn't want him to stay here alone. She was terrified that if they parted, it would be forever. He patted her back and forced a light tone. "Go outside. You might awaken an ability. Get stronger and come back to help me. Isn't that better? Don't worry, Sister Han Shuang. I can hold on for these 7 years." After a long silence, his sister finally nodded. Early the next morning, she packed the car and left. Grandpa Mu saw the trunk full of things and asked, confused where they were going. She lied, saying the trunk was full of tools. Grandpa Moo quickly realized the truth, pounding on the window and yelling for them to stop. There was no way he would let him stay here alone. She gritted her teeth and slammed the accelerator, speeding away. He stood where he was, watching the taillights fade, tears slipping down his face. This was not the time to be weak. He had to find a way to survive. After seeing them off, he turned and walked into the depths of the white mist forbidden zone. Rumors had always said the forbidden zone hid lethal rules. Those who broke them faced brutal punishments. Over the years, countless people had died trying to piece together a flawed rulebook. But he had once stumbled into the zone 7 years ago and come out alive. What was there now to fear about going back? Pushing through the thick white mist, the sight before him stopped him cold. Inside the zone, there was a complete ecosystem. Lush plants, birdsong, a forgotten paradise. He found a flat spot, lit a fire, and cooked the leftover beef into a stew. Just as he lifted the bowl and sipped the broth, his vision blackened again. What usually cleared in seconds didn't return this time. Just when he feared permanent blindness, he snapped his eyes open. Not only had his sight returned, but faint golden lines of text had appeared on his arm. Before he could study them, the letters rose and assembled into lines. White Mist Forbidden Zone Rules. Rule 1. No attacking your own kind. Rule 2. No shedding tears. Rule 3. If someone calls, respond within 3 seconds. Rule 4. No insulting others. Rule 5. Wash your hands before eating. Break any rule and you will suffer a lethal punishment. To be safe, he quickly pulled out a notebook and wrote down every rule. A chill ran through him. Thank goodness he'd washed his hands before drinking the soup, or he'd already be dead. If he could see all the rules, maybe he could avoid every potential danger. He tried all kinds of ways to trigger the ability, staring hard, focusing his mind for 2.5 hours straight, but nothing happened. Maybe the power only worked during blindness. Then he recalled that after eating a piece of bulltail meat yesterday, the blindness had triggered soon after. Perhaps eating monster meat accelerated ability growth. If so, he needed to hunt more monsters and master this power to see all the rules. 30 kilometers west of the Forbidden Zone lay the Watcher's Camp. Captain Lee Xin stared at the new report. Abnormal ability crystal activity detected inside Zone 22 of the White Mist Forbidden Zone. Deploy a squad immediately. Lee Xin ripped the cast off his arm and barked for the Watcher squad to assemble. The melee specialist Yang Hu, sniper Zhao Long, and support member Zhou Xiaoming readied their gear. But the moment they heard the mission was to re-enter the zone for crystal retrieval. Complaints erupted. They had barely escaped the last time, wounds still unhealed, and now they were being sent back in. Lee Xin slammed the table, his voice unwavering. Don't forget who we are. We're Watchers. No matter how dangerous the zone is, ability crystals must be recovered. His words snapped them to attention. Morale returned. Half an hour later, they followed Lee Xin into the White Mist Forbidden Zone. Just as they located the crystal, a corrupted white ape charged after them, relentlessly closing in on Yang Hu carrying the crystal. Lee Xin made a split-second decision. Yang Hu, use your speed ability and get it out. We'll hold it off. Sniper Zhao Long raised his R93 rifle. The next instant, a precise shot pierced the white ape's skull. A heavy boom echoed. The impact hurled the beast backward. Everyone exhaled in relief, thinking the monster was finished. But the next second, the corrupted white ape's eyes snapped open. It burst from the rubble with a deafening roar. Lee Xin reacted instantly, unleashing his ability, 100 Bloom Golden Spear. Hundreds of golden spears materialized around his arms in an instant. They rained down like a golden storm upon the monster. To everyone's shock, the spears failed to pierce its hide. Instead, the beast caught the opening and began charging a dark energy sphere in its mouth. A flash of black light tore through the air, scattering the golden barrage and striking Lee Xion's arm. In the blink of an eye, it turned to bone. Zhou Xiaoming rushed forward, rolling up her sleeve. "Captain, quick, bite down." Without hesitation, Lee Xian sank his teeth into her arm. His skeletal limb began regrowing flesh before their eyes. Within seconds, it was whole again. He shoved Zhou Xiaoming aside and re-engaged the monster. The corrupted white ape lunged again. Li Xian flared a golden shield to block. He signaled behind him. "Xiaolong now." The sniper pulled the trigger. The bullet whistled past Li Xian's shoulder, piercing clean through the creature's skull. Li Xian finally exhaled. The beasts of the Forbidden Zone were too vicious. Humans didn't belong here. The fight's energy shockwave might attract more monsters. They had to retreat. Zhou Xiaoming nodded silently, praying that Yang, who had made it out safely with the ability crystal. Just as they neared the edge of the zone, Li Xian froze. Why was there the smell of cooked meat in the air? Following the scent, they saw someone eating hot pot inside the Forbidden Zone. At that moment, Yishichi was happily dipping slices of beef in a bubbling broth. Then a golden spear appeared before him. Li Xian's voice came cold and wary. "Kid, state your name and identity." Yishichi flinched, raising both hands. "My name's Yishichi. I'm just an ordinary person." Li Xian saw the hesitation in his voice and motioned for Zhou Xiaoming to scan him. Few dared to enter the white mist Forbidden Zone alone. Most were dangerous criminals. The detector showed no criminal record, no background data, only an ability index below E-class. Even so, Li Xian kept staring at him, searching his expression for the truth. Li Xian's killing gaze made Yishichi's stomach twist. He had to do something, anything, to break the tension, or they might mistake him for a threat. So he held up his bowl of beef and asked nervously, "Want to sit down and have some hot pot together?" Before he finished speaking, a monstrous roar echoed from deep within the Forbidden Zone. Li Xian's face darkened. The tremor in the air meant one thing. A stampede of beasts was headed their way. "Xiaolong, take position for long-range support." "Xiaoming, you're getting me out of here," he barked. He stayed behind to hold the line. In the next instant, a golden column of light erupted behind him. As the beast horde charged in, Li Xian brandished his golden spear and met them head-on. Yishichi took the chance to slip away. Grandpa Mu had once warned him. Many ability users in the zone were criminals. If they turned on him, he wouldn't stand a chance. Just as he started packing his things to sneak off, Zhou Xiaoming scooped him up without a word and sprinted off. He sighed helplessly. Typical, he thought. Ability users always act superior. Even though the Dragon Nation and the Alliance banned them from harming civilians, that arrogance can't be erased by law. Back when he scavenged food with Han Shuanger, they'd always avoided ability users, afraid of those with bad tempers who could kill on a whim and walk away without consequence. Zhou Xiaoming leapt across the rooftops, carrying him. From above, he caught sight of Li Xian's summoned golden giant, a towering figure whose single sweep of its spear repelled the entire beast horde. A crimson character, demon, glowed on the giant's back. Yishichi was stunned. He'd seen many ability users before, but never power like this. Zhou Xiaoming called out over the wind, "Of course not. They're no ordinary ability users. They're the legendary Watchers." Before he could process her words, the white mist barrier loomed ahead. Beyond it was the invisible wall that had trapped him for 7 years. And at this speed, crashing into it would turn him into paste. "Zhou Xiaoming, I don't hear any fighting anymore. How about we stop and rest?" Yishichi pleaded, but she refused without hesitation. Desperate, he tried another tactic. "Actually, I have this weird condition. If I cross this bridge, I'll die instantly." She ignored him completely. The invisible wall loomed just meters ahead. He shut his eyes and prayed the rules would appear again. A moment later, glowing text surfaced before his vision. "Invisible wall can only be broken in an invisible way." "Invisible way?" he muttered. "Does that literally mean just close my eyes?" He steeled himself and ran straight into the unseen barrier. A sharp crack echoed. He could feel the wall shattering. Zhou Xiaoming lost balance and fell, while he was thrown violently forward. When he opened his eyes again, he froze. A field of lush green grass stretched before him, the safe zone meadow he'd dreamed of for 7 long years. He'd finally escaped the white mist forbidden zone. Soon after, the watchers brought him back to their camp for questioning. Zhao Lung slammed a data sheet on the table. "What were you doing in there? Don't tell me you were eating hot pot." "But I really was." Yi Shiqi protested. "A guy's gotta eat, right? I even invited you to join." Zhao Lung sneered. "You realize the mortality rate for civilians entering the zone is 96%? Yi Shiqi nodded. "Of course. That's why I went in, ready to die." The room fell tense. Then Zhou Xiaoming entered, supporting the wounded Li Xian. Yi Shiqi's eyes lit up. This was the man who'd turned into a golden giant and held off an entire beast horde alone. Li Xian sat down, voice steady. "As a normal human, how did you survive 7 years in the Forbidden Zone?" Yi Shiqi explained from the beginning. When the White Mist Forbidden Zone first appeared 7 years ago, an invisible wall trapped him inside. He tried everything to escape, but kept secret his ability to see the zone's rules. Zhou Xiaoming's eyes reddened. "So he really misjudged you." Li Xian leaned back thoughtfully. "Your so-called intermittent blindness. It might be the sign of an awakening. The scanner reading you as E-class could be wrong." He ordered Zhao Lung to test his vision again. Zhao Lung drew a knife and slashed it rapidly before Yi Shiqi's eyes. "How many swings just now?" Yi Shiqi paused, then said, 67. Li Xian's eyes gleamed. "Superhuman type ability, enhanced sight and dynamic vision. At least C-class. Run a full test. If anything's abnormal, handle it on the spot." Yi Shiqi panicked on the spot. "Wait, you're not planning to treat me like some lab rat, are you?" Before he could resist, Zhou Xiaoming grabbed his arm and dragged him out. Moments later, he was inside the testing room. The examiner's name tag read "No-No." Staring at the eye chart before him, he frowned. "Really? I've seen this thing 100 times in the ruins. And do they seriously need to tie me up for an eye test?" He took a breath and focused. The next second, his vision shifted. The tiniest letter on the chart looked close enough to touch. Looking further ahead, he could see the texture of the wall's material. Zhou Xiaoming's figure beyond the wall came into view clearly. "Wait, is this X-ray vision?" Instinctively, he turned his gaze toward No-No. His nose suddenly burned, then blood gushed out. No-No jumped back. "What the? How does testing eyesight make you bleed?" A moment later, the test results appeared. Yi Shiqi squinted at the report. "C+? Is that good?" No-No smiled patiently. "There are 6 ability grades. S, A, B, C, D, and E. Talent rating represents your potential ceiling. E-class makes up 4%, D-class 2%, C-class 2%, and B-class 7%. As for A and S, together they're less than 1%. Those are national-level elites." She continued, "There are also 4 ability types. 37% are superhuman type, 33% beast type, 42% mystic type, and only 8% elemental type. So don't look down on C-class. You're already ahead of most awakened users." She patted his shoulder. "Oh, and one more thing. When you use your ability to look at someone, they can usually feel it. Like just now, when you tried that X-ray trick on me." Yi Shiqi flushed red. That was an accident. Still getting used to this power." No-No turned back with a grin. "Accident or not, X-ray vision's a rare support type talent. If you apply to the Ability Academy, you might even get a full scholarship." Hope flared in Yi Shiqi's chest. The Ability Academy, run by the state, was where the nation's strongest mentors and elite resources gathered. Graduates could directly join the Watchers. Only 1/3 of applicants across the country made it in each year. He dreamed of that since childhood. Maybe this time, it would finally come true, to become a powerful ability user, maybe even a Watcher. No-No handed him a special ID card. "You're officially certified as a safe ability user." He blinked in disbelief. "Wait, didn't Captain Lee say something about cutting me open earlier?" No-No laughed. "That's just Lee teasing newbies. As long as your ability isn't dangerous, you get full clearance." Relief washed over him. He decided to find his sister and Grandpa Mu to tell them the good news. He'd awakened, and escaped his 7-year cage. Meanwhile, his sister and Grandpa Mu were still trapped inside the Forbidden Zone, fleeing from monsters. Worse, their old vehicle broke down halfway. Just as they got it running again, a thunderous crash echoed from afar. A massive horde of monsters was charging toward them. They jumped into the car, but even at full speed, the engine rattled uselessly. The beasts were gaining. Grandpa Mu gritted his teeth and started tossing all the cargo out to lighten the load. He was just about to shut the door when the monsters rammed into the car with terrifying force. In that instant, a figure dove from a nearby rooftop and punched several monsters flying. It was Yang-Hu, the same man who'd evacuated earlier with the ability crystal. He leapt into the car, and Yishichi's sister slammed the accelerator. Grandpa Mu saw Yang-Hu's heavy wounds and reached to bandage him, but she frowned. Let's confirm who he is first. Yang-Hu interrupted hoarsely. No time. Danger's not over yet. Before he finished, claws ripped through the back door. Yang-Hu straightened up, eyes blazing. I'll hold it off. You just drive. Get out of the zone. Yang-Hu pulled out the ability crystal and handed it to Han Schwanger. If anything happens to me, please make sure this reaches the military. Just then, a monster shoved its head through the car window and bit deep into his shoulder. Yang-Hu roared, his fist igniting with energy, and blasted the creature away with a single punch. His voice grew heavy. We just met, but I believe you too can be trusted. Trading my life for one ability crystal, that's worth it. Without hesitation, Yang-Hu charged out of the car and dove straight into the horde. Han Schwanger knew staying would only get them all killed. Tears streaming, she slammed the pedal and drove off. Glancing down at the crystal, she couldn't help wondering what was so important that Yang-Hu risked everything for it. But the moment her fingers brushed it, the crystal flared with blinding light, then melted directly into her body. A surge of violent energy rippled through the air, streaking straight toward where Yang-Hu was fighting. He barely had time to react. The force slammed into him, hurling him more than 2 meters away despite his superhuman physique. The beast that had attacked moments earlier trembled, shrieked, and fled into the distance. Clutching his chest, Yang-Hu stared toward the source of the energy. Did the ability crystal fuse with a human? He quickly escorted Han Schwanger and Grandpa Mu to safety in Huanghai Town. When Grandpa Mu regained consciousness, he immediately grabbed the nurse's hand. Where's Han Schwang? Has anyone seen my granddaughter? The nurse simply pointed toward the other side of the room. Grandpa Mu turned and froze. Inside a massive transparent capsule, Han Schwanger was sealed within a crystal-like cocoon, her body glowing faintly. Ignoring his own injuries, Grandpa Mu tore off his blanket and rushed forward. What are you doing to her? Why lock her in there? Just then, a researcher in a white lab coat approached slowly. Sir, your granddaughter's condition wasn't caused by anyone here. Do you recall what happened before you fainted? The fusion between the ability crystal and your granddaughter? The words ability crystal made Grandpa Mu freeze. The scene of the crystal merging into Han Schwanger's body flashed through his mind. The researcher handed him a tablet. The crystal is currently integrating with her body. If the process completes successfully, Han Schwanger won't just awaken as an ability user. She may possess a rare high-affinity ability, host physique. Grandpa Mu was stunned. Han Schwanger had never shown a trace of ability. How could she suddenly have such a powerful constitution? Seeing his confusion, the researcher continued. Some awaken much later than others. Certain protective forces can suppress innate energy fluctuations, preventing any outward signs of awakening. There aren't many documented cases, but she might be one of them. His tone then turned grave. However, now isn't the time to discuss physiology. That crystal's energy signal is immense. It's likely already been detected by the faith of God's apostles. For Han Schwanger, they're the real threat. The so-called faith of God was a cult made up of powerful ability-wielding criminals. They preached that human abilities were divine fragments from higher dimensions and that the white mist forbidden zone was proof of the God's descent. Their goal was to erase the old human civilization, purge the weak, and let the forbidden zone consume the entire blue star. They claimed only those blessed with God fragments were worthy to join their ranks. The researcher sighed. We can't mask the crystal's signal. The faith of God will come for her, without question. They'll either convert Han Shuang'er into one of their apostles, or kill her if the conversion fails. And if Han Shuang'er is successfully converted, the researcher added grimly, then the Watchers will be forced to act as well. Meanwhile, on the rooftop of a nearby hospital building, a man in a violet cloak stood silently, his eyes locked on the Watcher's medical ward. He was Raven, the apostle of the faith of God. His mission, locate Han Shuang'er, the one fused with the ability crystal. A cruel glint flashed in his eyes. If this mission succeeded, the title of Ninth Apostle would finally be his. Elsewhere, Yi Shichi sat quietly on a bus, staring blankly at the scenery sliding backward through the window. He stretched and yawned, when suddenly the driver slammed the brakes. A chorus of curses erupted from the passengers. But the driver snapped, quiet. There's a monster up ahead. Ishichi's pulse spiked. Everyone peered outside and saw it. A massive, hulking beast. Its gaze locked directly onto him. Cold sweat ran down his back. The next instant, the monster lunged toward the bus. Everyone stay calm. The driver barked, drawing a gleaming weapon. I'm a retired Watcher, D-rank ability user. I'll protect you all. Taking a deep breath, he stepped off the bus and faced the airborne creature. He gripped his weapon tighter. Not a single one of them dies today. Watching the fight unfold, Yi Shichi felt a pang of guilt. Though officially a certified ability user, his power, visual enhancement, was purely auxiliary, useless in direct combat. But he couldn't just sit there. There had to be something he could do. He opened his eyes again, and the world shifted. Above each passenger's head glimmered faint crimson lines of text. Yi Shichi froze for a moment, wondering what the sudden red text above everyone's heads actually meant. He turned his gaze around the bus, checking if anyone else showed something different. Sure enough, one burly man had E-rank skin hardening floating above him. Another, an old man, bore E+ rank Starfire ability. It clicked immediately. Both were ability users, but the musclehead's trembling hands showed pure fear, while the elderly man's weakness came simply from age. Ishichi looked at his own shaking hands and sighed inwardly. So even ability users aren't all strong. And me? I'm just a support type with no combat power at all. Just as he hesitated about stepping in, the driver was suddenly swatted away by the monster's claw. The man was panting heavily, clearly near his limit. Yet he still gritted his teeth and charged again. Watching him falter, the passengers broke into panic. One man in a suit shouted, "That's it? He calls himself a Watcher? What a waste of a D-rank talent. He's dead weight anyway." Before he could finish, a loud smack echoed. The old man had stood up, fire burning faintly in his eyes. If not for protecting these helpless people, he could have escaped already. He doesn't owe you a damn thing. Even active Watchers aren't required to die for scum like you. Flames flickered to life in the old man's palm. He muttered under his breath, uncertain if his frail body could still handle a fight. The muscle-bound man beside him drew a deep breath. His skin shimmered with a metallic sheen as skin-hardening E-rank activated. Yi Shichi clenched his fists. That monster's aura was overwhelming, easily D+ rank. For lower ranks, charging him was suicide. And if he, a support-type ability user, tried to fight head-on, the result would be no different. The other's courage finally rubbed off on Yi Shichi. After a moment of hesitation, he clenched his fists and shouted, "My name is Yi Shichi. E-rank, support-type visual ability. I'm joining the fight." He knew he wasn't built for frontline combat, but maybe from the right position, he could still make a difference. Meanwhile, the driver gripped his sword and unleashed several sharp arcs of light toward the monster. Then he spotted Yi Shichi and the others running over. "Uncle!" Yi Shichi yelled. "We're here to help." The driver nearly exploded. He'd barely survived one strike. How could a bunch of E-ranks possibly help? That monster's tail is venomous. Yi Shichi shouted. "You've got only 3 minutes before the toxin kicks in. The driver froze. There was no way the kid could have known that. My ability lets me see additional intel. Yishichi added quickly. Trust me. The old man's flame suddenly flared. With a sharp roar, he hurled the fireball. Boom! The explosion shook the air. Clouds of smoke filled the street, blinding the monster. The old man dashed forward, pressing his blazing hand onto the driver's wounded arm. Cauterizing the wound, he muttered, "Stops the bleeding and blocks the poison." Sweat rolled down the driver's face. He hadn't expected the useless support kid to actually save his life. But the monster gave them no chance to breathe. It bellowed again, louder than before. A massive claw swept down toward them. In that instant, the muscle-bound man leapt forward to shield the group. His skin-hardening ability flared, sending the monster skidding back several meters. Yet his grimace showed it all. The gap between D rank and E rank was simply too vast. Suddenly, the monster's gaze locked onto Yishichi. Damn it, he cursed inwardly. Smart bastard. He's targeting the weakest first. As the beast lunged closer, Yishichi's heart grew calm instead of fearful. Once, Yishichi could only run when facing monsters. But now it was different. He'd become an ability user. Not just that, a superhuman type. His pupils reflected the monster's form as he activated visual enhancement. Pushing his sight to the limit, he suddenly achieved something close to time-stopping vision. The world slowed to a crawl. Even the monster's claw swing moved in sluggish frames. It was the same phenomenon he'd glimpsed while staring out the bus window earlier, but this time it had gone full power. The muscle-bound man beside him was frozen mid-motion. Yishichi grinned faintly and focused harder, enhancing his sight even further. Then a blurred shadow lunged toward him, passing clean through his waist. His heart skipped. An illusion? A second later, he realized. No, that was the monster's next move. He exhaled. If I can see its next attack, I can dodge it. But the moment he shifted his stance, his foot caught on a loose rock, sending him sprawling. A massive impact slammed into the ground where he'd stood, leaving a crater. Seeing he was unharmed, the monster roared and tightened its claws again, its focus locked squarely on him. Sweat trickled down his temple. He could read its movements, but his body just wasn't fast enough to react. Watching him somehow dodge blow after blow, the others were frozen in disbelief. They couldn't tell if he was some hidden expert or just absurdly lucky. Suddenly, the driver charged forward again, a streak of bluish blade light slicing across the monster's neck. With a heavy thud, the beast collapsed. Yishichi finally let out a deep breath. The driver barked on the bus now. This place isn't safe. Meanwhile, on a nearby hillside, a lone figure watched everything unfold. His eyes sharpened. The boy's strange performance had caught his full attention. When they reached their destination, Yishichi parted ways with the others. The old man watched him go and murmured, "There's a saying among ability users. There's no strongest ability, only the strongest ability user. That kid may look weak now, but my old eyes don't lie. He'll become something great one day." The driver and a muscle-bound man both nodded in agreement. Yishichi smiled warmly. "I'll work hard. Thank you for believing in me." As Yishichi stepped into the crowded street, he froze completely. The watchers had told him his sister was somewhere in this town, but with this many people, where was he even supposed to start? Then he felt a slip of paper in his pocket, a phone number written on it. He frowned. After being trapped in a white fog zone for 7 years, he barely remembered what a phone even looked like. While puzzling over it, he spotted a middle-aged man nearby, tapping rapidly on a small square device. Yishichi hurried over and asked politely if he could borrow the man's phone. The man instantly stepped back, glaring. "This communicator's my lifeline. No way I'm lending it out." Yishichi scratched his head awkwardly. "I just got out of the white fog zone. Haven't bought one yet." Before he could finish, the man hid the device behind his back and whispered something into it. Alarmed, Yishichi turned and ran. Using his ability, he overheard the man's call. Possible member of the God's Apostles. Great. So much for asking politely. Then a lazy yawn drifted from behind him. A girl with long purple hair stepped out, eyes lighting up. "Hey there, kiddo. Coming to Red Romance for a little thrill?" Ishichi shook his head frantically. But right then, his stomach growled loud enough to answer for him. The purple-haired girl, Dodo, burst into laughter. "Wow, starving much?" Another girl with mint-green hair walked over. Seeing him, her eyes lit up too. "Well, aren't you a handsome one? Almost more intoxicating than our liquor." Ishichi blushed. I'm Ishichi, 17 years old." Dodo smirked. 17, huh? So next year do we call you 18? The green-haired girl, Lily, smacked her on the back. "Nah, girl, it obviously means 17 times a night." The two exchanged a look and burst out laughing. "Relax," Dodo added between giggles. "Red Romance is a legit bar chain, not that kind of place." Lily tugged his arm. "Perfect timing. We're short on staff. If you can carry drinks, you're hired." Before Ishichi could even respond, the two had dragged him inside. Ishichi's eyes lit up. "Really? I can work here?" Lily nodded with a playful smile. "Sure, but no base pay. You earn by tips only." Dodo grinned. "Plenty of female bosses come here. Be sweet, act cute, and you'll rake in 1,000 or 2 a night easy." Ishichi's eyes widened. 1,000 a night? That's like 80 bowls of noodles. But then he froze. Wait, why did she say a night? Seeing their mischievous smiles, a chill crawled down his neck. "Hold on, this place isn't dangerous, is it?" Still, he reasoned, they'd taken him in. They couldn't be bad people, right? And honestly, those tips didn't sound bad at all. So he nodded earnestly. "I'll do my best." The two girls laughed and pulled him off to get changed. He muttered to himself, "Why do I need a uniform? It's just serving drinks, right?" By midnight, the bar was packed. Dressed in the Red Romance uniform, Ishichi stood stiffly in a corner, face full of regret. Then a few stylish girls surrounded him. "You new here, huh?" One leaned in, draping an arm around his shoulder. "So, you know about Red Romance's special service?" His mind went blank. "Wait, what?" Lily never said anything about that. Before he could react, she shoved a handful of bills into his chest pocket. He opened his mouth to protest, but paused, staring at the money. By 4:30 a.m., the group finally left, smiling, satisfied, and leaving him utterly exhausted and confused. Back in his small dorm room, Ishichi took a long, hot shower. Back in the white fog zone, he'd imagined what life in the safe zone would feel like countless times. But these past few days had been nothing short of surreal. He'd broken through the invisible wall, accidentally awakened an ability, and then been hauled off by the Watchers for interrogation. Then came the ambush by a monster, and now, somehow, he was working at a bar of all places. Uneasy, he activated his power again, pushing his enhanced vision through the wall. That's when he caught a glimpse of a shadowy figure he'd never seen before. Dodo was standing before her, head lowered, as if giving a report. The figure spoke in a deep voice. "Has anything unusual happened in Huanghai town lately?" Dodo quickly replied, 2 days ago, there was an abnormal energy surge from an ability crystal. And word is, a frozen girl's being guarded by the Watchers." Ishichi frowned. "Red Romance, what kind of place is this, really?" Suddenly, the shadow turned, eyes cold as ice. "Who's watching me?" Ishichi jolted, cutting off his vision at once. That was close. Way too close. The shadow's identity was finally clear. It was the owner of Red Romance herself. Her expression turned icy as she asked Dodo, "The bar. You hired someone new recently, didn't you?" The next day at noon, Dodo showed up at Ishichi's dorm to call him for lunch. Peeking in, she found him doing push-ups on the floor. She grinned, reaching out to poke his arm. "Wow, little 17, nice muscles." Ishichi panicked and scrambled backward. "Dodo Jia, this is a legit place, right? Hands like that might get you in trouble." Dodo pouted. "TCH, just one day here and you're already talking back?" Ishichi quickly threw on his shirt. "Let me get dressed. I'll come right away." Then she leaned in, eyes narrowing playfully. "So, did you use your ability to peek into the next room last night?" His heart skipped a beat. "Huh? What are you talking about, Dodo Jia?" In a flash, she pinned him against the wall. "Drop the act. Red Romance may look like a normal bar, but it's actually a covert intelligence network. Her tone lowered. In your eyes, we already knew about them. That's why the boss sent me, to recruit you. Ishichi's pulse spiked. Recruit me? Can I refuse? Dodo blinked. Refuse? Why would you? Your ability is perfect for intel work. Ishichi straightened, voice firm. I don't want to just be an informant. Once I join, I'll lose my freedom. I have family to find, and I need to become stronger. Ishichi paused, then said earnestly, I'm really grateful you took me in, but I have to find my sister and my grandpa. Even if it costs me my life, I have to see them. His resolve was clear. Dodo sighed, no longer trying to stop him, and instead handed him a crucial lead. Southwest Zone, the hunters cleared out most of the threats there recently. The danger levels dropped, and a lot of scavengers are heading in for easy prey. You could train there for a while, maybe even find your family. Then she handed him a phone. Don't worry, no bugs, no tracking. My number and Lily's are saved. If you ever change your mind, Red Romance will always welcome you back. Ishichi's chest tightened with emotion. Thank you, really. No matter what happens, I'll come back. Soon after, he packed his bag and said goodbye to the sisters at the bar. Red Romance might not look like an honest business, and behind the curtains, they traded information for profit, but somehow they'd given him a strange, genuine warmth. Still, his vision ability seemed stuck at a bottleneck, since it had awakened inside the fog zone. Maybe the key to evolving it was still hidden there. Whatever it took, he had a head for zone. 2.5 hours later, he arrived at the outskirts of the zone. The place buzzed like a marketplace. Teams shouting, recruiters waving signs, deals being made. As he looked around, a burly man suddenly grabbed him. Hey kid, you alone out here? The man grinned. Perfect. We're short one member. Ishichi activated his vision subtly, scanning the team behind the man, and instantly understood their real intent. I'm an E-rank vision enhancer, he said flatly. The big man froze, then burst into laughter. An E-rank rookie, huh? What are you gonna do? Blink the monsters to death. Go home to your mama, kid. But the next second, a faint orb of light appeared above the brute's head. Inside it played a memory, his team being ambushed by a swarm of spiders. One by one, his comrades were torn apart, while he ran for his life without looking back. Ishichi's heart sank. Was that a real memory? Someone who abandons his team that easily better stay far away. He quietly stepped aside. Thanks for the offer, he said calmly. But I'll go alone. The brute barked after him. What, too proud now? An E-rank weakling like you should stick to the outer zone. Ishichi stopped, his tone cold. I take responsibility for my own life. At least I won't be the kind of man who runs when others are dying. Without another glance, he walked straight into the fog. Everyone here was at least D-rank. With his E-rank ability, one wrong move, and he'd be dead in seconds. Joining random parties meant being cannon fodder. At best, picking up scraps they didn't want. Better to move solo. Dodo Jia had once told him, the denser the mist, the deeper the zone. And where the fog thins, that's usually an entrance. Activating his enhanced sight, he searched for a safe passage when a shadow flickered through his vision. He recognized it instantly. A fog wraith, a mist creature that preyed on lost ability users. If you kept the right direction, they rarely attacked. Lucky for him, his vision enhancement let him see clearly through the haze. Just then, an engine roared in the distance. The fog wraith shrieked and vanished into the mist. Stop the car, shouted the squad captain. There's abnormal energy nearby. He scanned the area, but found nothing. Ishichi was crouched behind a trash bin, barely breathing. Dodo's warning echoed in his mind. Unauthorized ability, users entering a zone without a license. If the hunters caught him, he'd end up in solitary. Once the hunter squad was gone, Ishichi slowly stepped out from behind the trash bin. As he straightened up, faint glowing letters appeared on his arm again. The rules of Zone 77. His eyes lit up. So entering the zone automatically reveals the rules? The guidebook said, breaking a zone's rule brings punishment or death. But if you don't break them, doesn't that mean he could walk around freely? He quickly pulled out his notebook and copied every line of the Zone 77 rules. As he walked deeper in, the fog around him began to thin. Just as he was about to step into the inner area, a wolf-like beast darted out from an alley. His heart tightened. Carnivores in forbidden zones often mutate into killing-type monsters. This one had to be at least D rank. But instead of attacking, the wolf just stood there panting. When Yoshichi looked closer, he froze. That wasn't a monster. That was a husky. He couldn't believe it. Even if it wasn't mutated, anything that survived here must be dangerous. His grip on the dagger tightened. Yet the husky lay flat on the ground, tail wagging, eyes goofy, completely harmless. No way is this really just a normal dog? But how could something that cute survive in a death zone? Then he noticed the husky's eyes were fixed on the stake in his backpack. When he pulled it out, the dog instantly drooled. Yoshichi sighed. Yup, definitely a dumb dog. He waved his hand to say goodbye. The dog happily trotted after him. Hey, stop following me, Yoshichi warned. But it kept wagging its tail. He gave up with a helpless laugh. You really want to come with me? To his shock, the husky nodded. Out of habit, Yoshichi activated his ability again and scanned the husky. Words floated above its head. Magic wolf, Sirank. Attempting to become your companion. He burst out laughing. You? A magic wolf? With that dumb face? Then he shrugged. Fine. From now on, you're Erguzi. By the next morning, Yoshichi had set up a small fire on an open patch of ground, grilling steak. Suddenly, Erguzi began barking madly toward the distance. Yoshichi tensed and followed its gaze. The sand ahead started to boil and shift violently. A massive, scorpion-like monster erupted from the ground. Yoshichi's vision ability kicked in automatically. Species, demon scorpion. Rank, C. Primary threat, giant pincers and venomous stinger. Special trait, burrow ambush. He drew his dagger, his pulse racing. That thing's way stronger than anything I've seen, and I'm alone. Before he could react, Erguzi lunged, locking its jaws onto the scorpion's claw. Yoshichi's eyes widened. He's actually fighting it head-on. Meanwhile, not far away, 3 ability users watched from behind a pile of rubble. Their leader swallowed hard. No barrier, a monster for a pet. Don't tell me he's one of the god's followers. The bald man stammered. I heard the son of God can ignore zone rules. Look, he's grilling meat in a restricted area. He must have some divine legacy. The third man hesitated. So, do we back off or rob him? The leader waved him silent. Wait and watch. Let's see how strong he is. Back at the fight, Yoshichi finally believed it. Erguzi was a true magic wolf, just disguised as a goofy husky most of the time. Enraged, the demon scorpion snapped its pincers toward Erguzi. The wolf dodged in a flash and bit down hard in return. Both were C-rank monsters, one agile, one armored, neither gaining the upper hand. Yoshichi focused his vision ability, scanning the scorpion's body from head to tail. He spotted it. The final joint of its stinger, paler and stiffer than the rest. Erguzi hit the tail joint. He shouted. The wolf crouched low. Then it leapt and clamped down hard. Crack! The scorpion's tail snapped clean off. The demon scorpion screeched in pain, its body twisting violently before it burrowed back underground and fled. The 3 ability users watching from afar were stunned. He can control monsters? Is he a puppeteer from the god's followers? No way, one of them hissed. Only the leader of the cults called the puppeteer. That'd be insane. Maybe he just got lucky, another sneered. He fought using that dumb dog. If we ambush him, he's done for. Just then, Yoshichi stepped out of the shadows, voice low and cold. And what exactly are you 3 whispering about back there? The trio froze. He was standing above them, on the shattered wall, looking down. From a moment you started calling me a puppeteer, he said icily, I was already here. The 2 lackeys exchanged glances. Even if he was a follower, he was just one man. With 3 of them, the odds were on their side. And that cheap backpack? No way he was a big shot. Watching them mutter, Yoshichi sighed inwardly. Are they seriously planning to attack me? Clearly, they hadn't read the zone's public rules. Attacking others triggers divine punishment. As long as he stayed still, he was safe. But 3 C ranks against 1 E rank. He'd die before the rules caught up. Even with Guzi helping, they'd overpower him easily. Seeing their weapons drawn, he made his move. "Wait," he said, stepping forward. "You really don't recognize me?" The 3 froze again, lowering their weapons. "Yes, sir. Who are you?" Yishichi smirked. "Before you ask someone's name, shouldn't you introduce yourselves first?" The leader gave a wary nod. "Zhao Cixi. Superhuman type. Endurance enhancement." "Stop." Yishichi raised his hand. "Zhao Cixi, I saw you draw your dagger earlier. As punishment, you'll now be attacked. If you survive, I'll let it go." He was invoking a rule. In the forbidden zones, once your name is called, you must face an attack event. Zhao's body went rigid. He's not even moving. How's he attacking me? Then came the cracking sound beneath him. A black tendril burst from the ground and lashed out. Zhao dove aside, but the tentacle slashed open his neck, spraying blood into the air. Zhao Cixi went pale with terror, convinced that Yishichi had awakened a Super S-rank word spirit ability. Yishichi, however, was secretly pleased. "Heh, the information gap worked perfectly." He asked calmly, "So, anyone else still want to fight?" The trio panicked, shaking their heads. "No, sir. We were blind fools. Please forgive us." They hoisted the wounded Zhao Cixi onto their shoulders and bolted without looking back. Watching them disappear into the mist, Yishichi finally exhaled. If they'd really attacked, 1 E rank versus 3 C ranks, I'd be dead meat. He looked down at Guzi and grinned. "Training's gonna be tough from now on. Do well, and I'll grill you a whole slab of meat tonight." Meanwhile, Zhao Cixi rushed straight to the Night Watcher's base. He reported that they'd encountered a terrifying expert, at least A rank, possibly even S rank. The man could command a magic wolf and use some kind of word command skill, so they suspected he was part of the god's followers. Captain Wu Lei's face hardened. "Give me his coordinates. I'll verify myself." 4 days later, Guzi had leveled up from C rank to B rank. Yishichi stood atop a tree, watching the wolf fight a mutated B rank crocodile. With a sudden leap, Guzi bit into its belly, ending the fight instantly. Yishichi sighed. The zone rules say, no physical contact with monsters longer than 3 seconds. Guess I can't train them as mounts yet. Above, an eagle circled in the sky, its gaze locked onto him. It was one of Captain Wu Lei's scout familiars. Wu Lei suspected Yishichi's power was control type and ordered, "Do not engage. Keep surveillance only." Then, without warning, a pillar of blinding light erupted in the distant horizon. Wu Lei's eyes lit up. A divine phenomenon. And a suspect at the same spot? Could a forbidden artifact be emerging? Yishichi noticed the anomaly too. A week of walking and still not at the core. 400 kilometers already. How big is this damn place? He muttered. Guzi suddenly howled toward the heavens. The stones beside them began to tremble. A massive black serpent slithered out, its cold golden eyes fixed on him. Yishichi's stomach dropped. A gatekeeper-class beast. I've never fought something that strong before. Forget E rank. Even with Guzi at B rank, neither of them stood a chance against that monster. Yishichi quickly grabbed the last chunk of grilled meat from his backpack and held it out. To his surprise, the serpent's cold eyes flickered with light. It slithered closer, slowly, cautiously, but didn't strike. Yishichi's heart lifted. Guess even monsters can't resist barbecue. Meanwhile, the Night Watcher's scanners were going wild, reacting to the distant light pillar. Captain Wu Lei stared at the readings and roared. Rank fluctuations, confirmed. We're witnessing a forbidden artifact's birth. Everyone ready to move. Secure it at all costs. Stay sharp, he added. The zone will spawn monsters to guard the artifact. No slacking off. With that, he activated his ability. His body swelled, fur erupted across his skin, and 3 snarling wolf heads grew from his shoulders, hellhound form. The others transformed too. One became a cheetah, leaving afterimages as he ran. Another turned into a massive bear, muscles bulging like steel cables. A swarm of centipede demons rushed them, only to be shredded in seconds. Wu Lei led the charge deeper into the fog-shrouded stone forest, the gateway to the inner circle of the white mist zone. Suddenly, a black serpent lunged out from behind an obsidian pillar. Wu Lei reacted instantly, dodging sideways just before it struck. Hellshade Python, he growled. Dark element beast. Its breath is corrosive toxin. Before he could issue orders, shadows rippled as a dozen more monsters crawled out, surrounding the team. All three of Wu Lei's heads glowed. One purple, one cyan, one orange. Flames roared forth, intertwining into a massive infernal web that devoured everything ahead. The squad burst through the gap, but above them, coiled around an obsidian pillar, another Hellshade Python was waiting. The Hellshade Python flicked its tongue, ready to strike the rearmost soldier. Just as it lunged, a massive beast claw came crashing down. Thud! The serpent screeched in pain, bloodshot veins bursting in its eyes. It twisted violently and bit deep into Wu Lei's arm. Its massive body coiled around him, squeezing hard. Wu Lei grimaced in agony. He forced his remaining wolf heads to bite back at the serpent's neck. The beast shrieked and loosened its grip. At that moment, Wu Lei's transformation broke. He reverted to human form, clutching his mangled arm. The skin was blackening, rotting visibly. The serpent's venom was eating through the flesh. More monsters were closing in. Wu Lei's face darkened. Damn it. Zone 77's hazard area isn't cleared yet. Plan A's failed. He barked. Everyone retreat. Forget the artifact. Even as he fell back, he was thinking fast. If they could just survive and regroup for Plan B, there'd still be hope. With monsters guarding the artifact, no one else would take it anyway. Watching from afar, Yi Shichi sighed. Seriously? A single stake would have tamed that guardian. Why start a war? He, Anair Guzi walked casually into the inner zone. The massive serpent followed behind them like a trained pet. Yet, the deeper he went, the larger the stone forest became. 2.5 hours later, the center was still nowhere in sight. Then suddenly, a colossal creature appeared ahead, the Thunder Scorpion. Ishichi's eyes widened. An evolved form of that C-rank scorpion from before? If I could tame an A-rank beast, I'd rule this whole zone. Without hesitation, he tossed it a piece of grilled meat. The Thunder Scorpion devoured it in one gulp. Its murderous aura vanished. After eating all his meat, it simply turned around and left. Ishichi guessed, so A-rank beasts can't be tamed that easily, huh? But moments later, the scorpion came back, carrying a half-dead boar in its pincers. Ishichi blinked. Wait, it just went hunting? It wants you to cook for it? Meanwhile, at the coordinates of the forbidden artifact, space rippled faintly. The object's name, Stonegate. Grade, Level 1. Rules, unknown. A small exploration squad had arrived first. One member suggested, why not just break the rocks around it and haul the whole thing out? The captain shook his head. Forbidden artifacts obey their own zone rules, beyond physics. If we can't decode them, we can't move them. After several tests, they made one discovery. The stone gate had no offensive reaction. Then, Yi Shichi arrived. The squad froze in disbelief. A man walking with a B-rank rock python and a B-rank demon wolf. The captain immediately signaled combat stance. He's not here by accident. Yi Shichi raised a hand calmly. Relax. I'm just curious. Think of me as a bystander. The captain hesitated. No one in the zone should ever be trusted. Even counting Yi Shichi's beasts, it was still 6-on-3. The advantage was theirs. Yet his calm made them wary. Maybe he was stalling for reinforcements. The captain frowned, then decided, attack first. End him before backup arrives. Yi Shichi's tone went cold. So, you really want to fight me? They didn't back down. Forbidden artifacts belong to no one. Only the strong may claim them. If he wanted it, he'd have to make them yield. Suddenly, the ground burst open. The Thunder Scorpion erupted upward, knocking several men aside. Shock filled the air. 2 B-rank monsters were already bad enough, but an A-rank Thunder Scorpion? Was this man above A rank? The Thunder Scorpion entered hunting mode. Yishichi sighed. Told you not to attack. It's not fully tamed. Once it hunts, even I can't stop it. The captain panicked, waving his hands. Wait, misunderstanding. We're just poachers. No need to die over this. Yishichi gestured lightly. The scorpion halted, obediently lowering its tail. He walked up to the stone gate, running a hand over its cold surface. So that's it. They haven't figured out the rule yet. And judging from their looks, they plan to let him unlock it, then swoop in for the prize. To be safe, Yishichi discreetly learned each of their names. That way, if anyone turned hostile, he could let the zone's rules deal with them himself.
Guys, that's the end of the video. If you like this video, please leave a comment in the comment section. Also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Like the video and share it too. Thank you for watching and see you next time again.